What up? What up? What up? It's your boy James, aka Ralph's favorite. Now I know you're thinking to yourself, James, why am I not watching the video? Chill. We're gonna get to the video. But before we do that, I want to say on behalf of TBD, we appreciate you for taking the time out to watch this video. And we appreciate you for listening to the podcast. More importantly, we just appreciate you taking the time to be with us, because you could be anywhere in the world, but you are here with us today. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to first like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not, and then hit that notification bell. So that way you're notified when we drop a new video. And remember, it's all TBD. Now let's go ahead and get back to that video.
The political sphere, in my opinion, is so crazy that I feel like this needs to be a separate hour show. I think I enjoy trying to guess where you go with no pressure on the political perspective. But just this week, the things that I have seen from the Epstein list and Trump avoiding the Epstein list, the Colbert Report being canceled, and the pressure that he put on Paramount allegedly to cancel the Colbert Report with the lawsuit, the black farmers. What else have I seen this week? Colbert Report, black farmers, Epstein, Obama acting treasonous. It's just so many places you could take the show and spend decent amount of time on each topic. Where are we going? What you got?
First thing is, this is the political perspective. If you ain't political, you do not have a perspective. And this week, like all weeks in the Trump presidency, just has so much drama, so much intrigue, so much nonsense, not a lot of governing, but just a whole bunch of just stuff. And it makes you kind of think about the previous 4 years. The previous 4 years, the country, ran like a country. You had politics was still in the news, but it was nothing like what we have had today, because our president is a reality TV star who treats the presidency as a reality TV show. And that puts us squarely in the middle of the drama that you see on a reality TV show is what you see every day. So, the first thing I want to talk about is just the Epstein files. And Trump, his, the way he's kind of navigating through these Epstein files, it's just very, very, very interesting. He continues to say there's nothing there. There's nothing that we need to see in these files, but he just continues to kind of act in a strange way. So this week, the Wall Street Journal was sued by Trump because they released a story that said that Trump sent Jeffrey Epstein a birthday card. And this birthday card, apparently, some of the typewritten text was in the outline of a woman and an outline of a silhouette of a woman. And, it says some things, a conversation between them. And it was signed, allegedly, by Donald Trump in the area that would have been the woman's private area. And, allegedly, this birthday letter was sent by Trump to Epstein. So Trump attempted to pretty much kill the story. He contacted, the Wall Street Journal contacted him for a statement. He contacted the owner of Wall Street Journal, which is Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News, conservative news network, absolutely pro-Trump, so pro-Trump.
Yep.
that they were sued and lost about $700 million in a defamation suit against one of the manufacturers of voting machines in the United States. So Fox and Wall Street Journal and their owner are pro-Trumpers through and through. So Trump called Rupert Murdoch, the owner, and told him, to kill the story. And apparently he said he would, but did not. So Trump is suing them, for defamation. I think he's suing them for like $18 billion or some crazy ridiculous number. However, it does speak to a tactic that Trump has used with the media. If anyone writes something that is not favorable to the president, then he attacks them. He threatens to take away whatever kind of funding they may have, or he just sues them. And you see that he's been successful in settling with these companies by putting pressure on them. And just imagine the leverage that the United States government has to negatively affect your company. If they use the power of the government to attack you and to investigate you, it's something that we've never seen before, and if it has happened, it's something that hasn't happened publicly. So
very, very, very authoritarian.
Absolutely.
And we see it happening with his recent distraction with the Washington Commanders and him demanding that they change the name back to the Redskins, or he may not provide what's necessary for the funding for the new stadium. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And that type of just financial bullying. It's ready to turn into the staple of his administration. If you do not comply, then I'm just going to negatively affect you financially. Which is a tactic, like I said, that either has never been done or hasn't been done in such a public way that it has swayed the actions of big corporations. I mean, it's actually crazy when you think about it. However, the Wall Street Journal, they were not afraid. They said they stand by their story. And after Trump threatened to sue them, they released another story about Trump, which said that Trump was told by his Department of Justice that he was in the Epstein files. And he was told a couple of months ago. Why that's important is because Trump was asked last week by a White House reporter if he was in the Epstein files, and he said that he wasn't. So it just kind of starts, the gears turning even more about what's kind of in these files, and what is the government hiding. So there are a lot of Democrats and Republicans that want to see what's in these Epstein files, right? And the Republicans and the Democrats actually came together to attempt to bring the House to vote on a resolution to release the files. Because that was happening, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, decided to recess the House early for their summer break so they would not vote on it. However, Democrats and Republicans were very crafty and savvy in hiding it in a different part of the legislative vote, and was able to sneak this vote in, which was actually amazing. It's something that actually said has never happened, or very rarely that something like this happened. So they totally kind of circumvented his power, and once again attempting to shut down what is in these Epstein files. Now, one question that I've heard a lot of pundits kind of ask is, why is the Epstein file important now? When this happened in 2019, happened on Trump, while Trump was president. However, 4 years of Biden, no one's been screaming for the Epstein files. Why is it so important? And the reason why it's important is because it is something that Trump and his administrative team ran on. They ran on these Epstein files, and they ran on the promise that there were probably going to be Democrats, high-ranking Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton, that had relationships with Jeffrey Epstein, that they could exploit, or at the very least say that this is a part of the Democratic machine. So this is something that they ran on. It's not something that the Democrats even gave any thought to, because this person, Jeffrey Epstein, once an investigation is concluded, it's no longer made public. But also the law says that these investigations are not even able to be unsealed for at least 5 years. So that's one of the reasons why all this time went by and no one took a look at these files. All of that is to say that Trump just continues to kind of add more gasoline to this Epstein saga. But it's well documented that Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends.
Right.
Well, it's conceivable that they hung out together, that they spent time together. It's clear that they did. There's pictures of him being at Trump's wedding, I think his second wedding. There are multiple pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein. I think that Trump is just not doing the calculations correctly. That if he just says, this was a friend of mine, we had a falling out for whatever reason, no longer my friend. But to try to play the denial game when he's acting like a 70-something-year-old man, because how can you play the denial game with things that are so clearly and easily found to be true? You were his friend, right. Spend time together. That doesn't mean that you are guilty of anything. However, because you are spending so much time trying to cover this up, trying to trash this story, that it makes people kind of wonder, well, what exactly is in there? Who are you protecting? Are you protecting some other folks? Are you protecting yourself? Let's find out. So there will be a release of the Epstein files. One last thing to note is, when Trump gets cornered, his responses become unhinged. Right? His responses become unhinged. And one of his responses, or one of his talking points, is that the Epstein files is a hoax. He's calling it the Epstein hoax. Yeah. And he's saying that former President Biden, former President Barack Obama, and also I think former National Security Director James Comey, all kind of concocted this Epstein thing. Mm-hmm. But the web is so kind of convoluted. Last week, the Trump administration fired Maurene Comey, who is James Comey's daughter. So they fired her for no reason. I mean, they have a clause, which any employer has, that you can be fired for no reason, right? But it's interesting that they fired her, who her father is, and that she actually was the person that prosecuted not only Jeffrey Epstein, but his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. So she actually is someone who is intimately involved in the Epstein files that they just fired last week. Mm-hmm. She also was on the prosecution for the Diddy trial also. So she's a high-ranking prosecutor in I think the Southern District of New York. But the fact that she had connections to Epstein, that they would fire her last week for no apparent cause. So I mean, there's so many kind of layers to this, and it's very interesting to see kind of where this is going. The next thing is something that
real quick before we get off. What do you think about the report saying that the DOJ told Trump he was on the Epstein list in May?
Yeah, so I think that everybody knows that Trump's on the list, right?
Okay.
And even I think Elon Musk has said it multiple times.
Elon Musk did say it, yeah.
I think everybody knows he's on the list. So, well, not on the list, but they said there's no list, but he's in the report. So he's in the report, yes. Which makes sense because they were friends,
right? In the files, right?
And you're not subject to your friend's behavior, right? However, when Donald Trump says things to the effect of, Jeffrey Epstein's a great guy, we both like women, he likes women on the younger side. It makes you kind of pause. And then you hear some of the things that Trump has said and
on Howard Stern, for sure.
Absolutely. What he said on Howard Stern about, young women, and he can still bang a 21-year-old And then he mentioned something about a 12-year-old, like just cringy commentary that could mean something or could mean nothing. But the fact that he's on the files, I think that Trump is just panicking, and I think this is the first time that we've actually seen him panic, and he's actually making the situation worse than what it is.
Way worse.
If he comes out and says, "Yeah, I'm on the files. Of course, I'm in the files. We ran in the same circle. That don't mean I did anything with anybody. I'm just on the files. I'm just in the files." I think people would accept that. Because that makes sense. But when you go through all of these lengths and all of these distraction methods to try to get people off of this trail, it makes people wonder, like, what is really going on? Who's he protecting? Maybe it's not him, but maybe it's somebody that's connected to him that could be connected in a way that makes him look bad. So I mean that's something that, like I said, it's a self-inflicted wound. He should have just came out and just owned up to it, but he doesn't have that in him.
No. Why would he do? He would never do.
He doesn't have that in him. He'd rather burn it down or just lie to people and make stuff up. And the latest thing that he made up is what he called treasonous acts of President Barack Obama. So he's called for former President Barack Obama to be arrested for treason in connection to the Russian collusion case. Now, not to bore people with all of the details, but 2016, we're talking about something that's almost 10 years old, and Trump was in office for 4 years and did not come to this conclusion. So it's kind of interesting that in the middle of the Epstein saga, here's this new revelation that Obama did something illegal, treasonous, as they've called it. But to kind of simplify it, in 2016, there was a lot of conversation about Russia actually using their resources of their government to attempt to influence the election. So the first thing that was thought was that they would use their kind of cyber internet teams to infiltrate some of our voting systems. It was found out that they were not able to infiltrate any of our voting systems. However, it was determined that, well, let me stop right there. So after it was kind of determined that they made some attempts, but they were not successful, Barack Obama ordered a full investigation of what their capabilities were and how were they able to, what were they actually able to do. So Obama directs his national security team to investigate this. As a result of this, as a result of this investigation, it was determined that Russia did try to hack a lot of our systems, and they were successful in hacking the emails of Hillary Clinton. It was very kind of coincidental, if you want to call that Hillary's emails were released the same day that Trump's Access Hollywood issue was released, which this is the grab you by the pussy statement. Hillary's emails were hacked and released on that same day. Very coincident. I mean, could be a coincidence, could not be. So Barack Obama ordered, let's find out what happened. So what they determined was that that Russia did make attempts to influence our election in favor of Donald Trump. They wanted to negatively impact Hillary Clinton's campaign. There were thoughts that there were people within Trump's orbit that solicited this help from Russia. But through many years of investigation, it was determined that Donald Trump had nothing to do with this, right? So he had nothing to do with this. However, fast forward, that was 2016. Here it is, 2025. Fast forward, Department of Justice says that because Barack Obama ordered this investigation, that he in turn started this kind of started the wheels turning of maybe Trump had something to do with Russia making attempts to infiltrate our voting system. It is a major leap. He's the president of the United States. He can order an investigation. That doesn't mean that he did anything illegal or that he steered the investigation. This is hundreds and hundreds of people, different agencies, the CIA, the FBI, all coming together for this conclusion. But this is something that, that is very ironic that this comes out in the middle of the Epstein saga. But what I think is interesting is the Attorney General Pam Bondi. She makes this press conference, says all of this stuff, but not really saying anything. She's not giving any real evidence. She's giving like a memo from 2016, but no real like hard evidence. And something like this would be very, very difficult to prove anyway. Yeah, it's almost like stone spaghetti, but this won't be very difficult to prove anyway. If it can even be settled that a president can even be charged with a crime. I mean, based on the Supreme Court's ruling, presidents have vast amount of immunity against criminal proceedings, especially while they're in office. So, I mean, it almost 100% is going to go nowhere. But it's just very interesting that this will come out. What I also think is interesting is maybe about 3 weeks ago, Donald Trump was asked about Iran and asked about Iran's nuclear program. And, he was asked by a reporter, Iran, according to Pam Bondi, Iran is not close at all to developing a nuclear weapon. And Trump's response to that was, she don't know what she's talking about. 3 weeks later, she got the scoop on Barack Obama. It's ridiculous that somebody 3 weeks ago don't know what they're talking about. And today, folks are taking what she says and runs with it. So it's very, very interesting. Just an attempt. It looks like just an attempt to just distract from a story that's really going to go nowhere until something is done. And the crazy part is, if you ask me, I'm going to say there's nothing in those files. I don't believe there's anything in those files. I think that if there was, I think that they would have been leaked. I do understand why the Biden administration did not speak on the Epstein files, because if it would have been released on the Biden administration, all Trump would have said was, "This is fake." So it would have been useless. It would have just been like, "This is fake." Anything that comes from the Democrats are going to be fake in Trump's mind anyway, and supporters anyway. So let y'all call for it. Y'all take a look at it, and then y'all determine what it is. The last one is not, it's politics, but it's more foreign politics that has spilled over into the United States. But French President Macron is suing Candace Owens for defamation. Yes. The reason why is Candace Owens has been on this tear of saying that the French president's wife is transgender. And there was a story in France that alluded to maybe the French president's wife, her name is Bridget Macron, is transgender, was born a man. And Candace has been running on this for months. And, as a result, and this, normally a French dignitary from another country is not going to be worried about what's going on in the United States with just a podcaster, right? But Candace has a type of reach that has actually reached France, where the French president has said that he's got threats. It's been difficult for him as a dignitary of their country to even move freely throughout their country because of these accusations. So they filed a lawsuit in Delaware. Ironically, that's where Candace Owens' company is. That's where their company's address is in Delaware.
Headquarters, yeah.
Headquarters. I wonder if she live in Delaware. But
tax benefits. Yeah,
tax benefits, absolutely. But yeah, so they're suing her, and it will be kind of interesting to see where this story goes. And whether or not she's going to settle, she's going to take it to court. She is defiant. She says that bring it on. That they'll be able to.
She has been, yes.
Yeah, she has been defiant. She says bring it on. She appears to believe that she appears to believe that his wife is transgender. So that's something to monitor.
It's a
It's
weird
something
thing to insert yourself into, but whatever.
Yeah, because if she is or isn't, and what that really means, I mean, and if anyone knows anything about Candace Owens, you know what her kind of view is on the transgender community, specifically the transgender community, even more than just the LGBTQ community, specifically the transgender community. That she has an extreme opinion about them. She has a bias
Yeah.
about those
Yeah.
folks. So you see where that's coming from, and also this idea that we have these powerful people who are doing these things behind our backs that we have no idea what's going on, and his having a transgender wife is just another example of the powerful being able to kind of get away with anything. However, whatever she is, that's their business. Doesn't affect me. Certainly doesn't affect her.
Right.
All the way in France. But it is something that her base, which a lot of her base is 100% filled with people that just hate other people. Not a hater, just hate other people. So it's red meat for her base, but just another reason to be able to attack that group of people.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.